Paramount has settled President Trump's CBS 60 Minutes lawsuit for $16 million. It is, to all intents and purposes, a jackpot deal for Trump, but he won't be getting the apology he was chasing after. No statement of regret will be necessary from the company or its journalists, but the news programme will have to release their transcripts of interviews with future US presidential candidates.
As a reminder, Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS in October after their interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump alleges that they deceitfully edited the footage to tip the scales in favor of Harris's presidential bid. The outlet maintains they edited the interview for clarity and length. The $16 million will go towards Trump's future presidential library.
This comes after Paramount Global Chair Shari Redstone faced intense calls not to settle. Redstone is seeking to push through an $8.4 billion merger between Paramount and Skydance, one she personally would receive a payout from. The catch, of course, is that the Trump administration's FCC must approve that deal. Left-leaning political commentator Brian Krassenstein sounded off on the merger, writing, quote, "In other words, they were extorted and caved. Boycott Paramount. 60 Minutes employees quit." I am unusually aligned with Brian Krassenstein's views on this. I just think it is really abject. I'm sure you have a different view, but just let me rant about this for a second or two. To me, this is just yet another capitulation to President Trump without any just cause at all. To my mind, the editing by 60 Minutes of the Kamala Harris interview was completely standard journalistic practice. I do not accept that it changed her meaning at all. I do accept that it was condensed for clarity. I think the case that Trump took in Amarillo, Texas, no less, so he could be assured of a friendly judge, was entirely spurious. And the fear or the worry in all of this is that when you have something like this, it goes to the heart of the journalistic enterprise to me. Most news organizations, even though the independent sector has thrived recently, most news organizations have corporate owners, including The Hill and including almost everywhere. And we as journalists are dependent upon those owners at least having some bedrock defense of journalistic standards and journalistic legitimacy and standing up for people if they incur the wrath of the powerful. And here, Paramount, out of, in my opinion, avarice to get this merger through, has just completely bent the knee and completely undercut its journalists.
Do you think it's any comfort to their journalists that they didn't have to issue an apology?
No, I don't. It's because, look, everyone, this thing, and Paramount is pushing that, we didn't apologize.
Yeah,
the whole thing of the 16 million settlement, this is a victory for Trump. I'm not disputing that. I'm lamenting that it's a victory for him, but it's a victory for him.
Yeah, 16 million's really small compared to what he asked for. And look, I agree with you that CBS probably settled this in the hopes of sort of greasing the wheels with the FCC. But it could have, I think, been a lot worse for them. 16 million and no apology is actually a pretty good deal to not have to go to discovery, to not have to go to trial and spend all of that money in legal fees. I think they kind of made off here, especially in regards to the merger. But I am curious about what FCC Chairman Brendan Carr is going to do, because he has been notably more wary of industry and monopolies than Trump has been, and doesn't have these same friendships and relationships with various corporate executives. So I'm wondering if he is going to play ball here or if he's going to put up a little bit of a fight.
Sure. It would be kind of grimly hilarious if after making this settlement they said, no, you still can't have the merger.
That would be really funny.
That would be, there we do agree. That would be kind of funny. Because, look, you're saying 16 million, you got away with it because there was no discovery, and Trump sued for, I think he initially sued for 10 billion. Yeah. And did he up that afterwards to he doubled that, I thought, at some point later.
It's possible.
But, that's just Trump doing his usual art of the deal thing where he just demands an exorbitant sum.
And it works every time.
And it works. And it's just so, I find it just so bleak. And also, just to get back briefly to the 60 Minutes thing,
Yeah.
there's a lot of misinformation about what happened there, because people have said things about, oh, they pulled answers from a completely different question.
Yeah, that's not quite right.
They didn't. They shortened a series of questions about the Middle East, and then even the argument about what they supposedly did wrong has shifted a little bit. At one point, there was a longer segment played on Face the Nation and a shorter segment played on 60 Minutes. And the objection was the difference between one to the other. Then the difference became somehow they edited it at all. And to your point of things that are so hyperbolic as to be funny, I noticed that Trump's lawyer claimed he suffered mental anguish as a result of
funny.
this edit. I mean, anyone who thinks that's a real claim is just, it needs their head.
Yeah, so I have the transcript up here, and it looks like...
so do I.
Yeah, the question was answered fully with, well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy... Sorry, I forgot how bad this was. Including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. And so they basically took out the whole first part and started it at, we are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the U.S. to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. So I know that we probably disagree on the substance of the first part of the answer, which I found to be quite word salady and sort of indicative of her common want for verbosity when she doesn't really understand what she's trying to say. But if you don't feel that way about Kamala, that might not seem receptive to you.
Well, I don't feel that way about that particular answer. I do think that she is prone to somewhat verbose answers. I think Trump is massively prone to verbose answers. Yeah, well, this is the thing. He gets away with it as the weave, and she gets lambasted for it as word salad. I mean, I have, as I'm sure you have done prior to TV appearances, sat through Trump rallies where you're trying to extract the one or two news-making comments from just this morass of incoherence. And, that happens all the time with him. To the point about the words that you read out, to me that was just a mundane recitation of what the Biden policy was. I didn't think it was particularly bad or particularly good. I think it's laughable to suggest that its exclusion would change anyone's voting intentions one way or another. And the overall point, to my mind, in all of this is, again, that corporate imperative. Paramount basically sold out their journalists to try to get approval for a merger, and Trump has successfully extorted them, as far as I'm concerned.
This also comes in concert with the settlement related to George Stephanopoulos at ABC, and I know we've talked about that before, but you found that one to be more damaging for the brand than...
Yes, because Stephanopoulos did say something wrong in that respect. Now, whether the 15 million in that case, had that gone to court, would there really have been a 15 million judgment against Trump? I'm skeptical. But the problem is, Stephanopoulos said something that was very hard to defend. He used the word rape instead of sexual assault, basically.
Yeah, that was obviously a huge mistake for him, and I believe he apologized after he said it.
I think so. I can't exactly recall, but I think so.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it on this segment. What's behind Trump's Iran strategy? Believe it or not, we have Ambassador John Bolton here to weigh in. Stick around. You don't want to miss it.